been a while.
As far as I know, not now. So I think we can start.
Okay. All right. Well, it's great to have everyone back. So, Denise, how was your holiday?
Very good, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, did everyone have a chance to read the material, watch the material, prepare?
Yes, of course, I slightly overestimate time I will have, but I watch video and read most part of material. Also, I hope I'm rather prepared to the discussion.
All right. That's great. Elia, you?
So I haven't got a vacation, so but tomorrow will be my last day at school, so
Oh, great. So you guys are going to the end of the week. That's wonderful. So you've
yeah.
already got that. Super terrific. All right. Well, today we are talking about artificial intelligence, which is a topic that's been around, oh my goodness, for decades now, hasn't it? I mean, the whole idea of robots, of computers, of them maybe even taking over and becoming smarter than people are. Are they smarter than people are? A lot of debate about that whole sort of thing. But let's talk about this a bit today because we're definitely at an interesting stage where we've got computers that are definitely a very active part of our lives, depending on what sort of, I don't know, mobile phones or tablets you're using. You might even be talking to your device on a regular basis. I know that this is a new kind of thing. So let's discuss artificial intelligence and see how we feel, where it's going, and yeah, pretty much that. All right. And hopefully our computers won't be talking back to us, but you never know. So the first question that we have is, what are your initial feelings about artificial intelligence? Denise, let's start with you. What do you think? What are your initial feelings about artificial intelligence?
Uh, hmm, Interesting questions. Uh, First, to me, artificial intelligence is a rather wide problematic and wide directions. So we use some simple artificial intelligence features in our day, like weather prediction or smart keyboards in smartphones or Google search or something like this. Also, and it's a simple truth. It's hard to feel something different than feel you have and use a hammer on, I think, I don't know, or glass or something like this. But another side is trying to invent things similar to human being. And to me, it's very interesting and futuristic task. It's hard to understand detail how it change our lives, but it's probably a very important step in as a part of our evolution.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is a step in our evolution, isn't it? I mean, it's here. We are evolving alongside of this sort of stuff. It's kind of hard to deny that. Elia, what about you? What do you think? I mean, what are your initial sort of feelings about artificial intelligence?
I think it is for me it is connected with some far future because today we also have a so-called artificial intelligence, but I think the level is rather primitive. But I can guess that computers and artificial intelligence may be much more clever than human being in some parts, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can see that too. But yeah, we think about like the far future, but it's not like the far future is here. When I think about artificial intelligence, the
No, I think
next generation.
that artificial intelligence, which I mean, we can't see just now, but I think what we have now, it can't be compared with human beings.
Okay.
It,
All right.
it,
So they mean, yeah, that's, I think, what I was mentioning. It's like when I think, do you guys remember Star Trek, The Next Generation, Data, the android that, you know, is a Starfleet member, and he's on like a regular sort of, you know, crew member. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? The guy with the white skin? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe.
uh, for me, I'm not. I don't know what I'm talking about.
All right, I'm talking about, this is back in the 80s. You know, in 80s, this was a big show, and it was basically, you know, this android that was created, and he's basically almost entirely human, except for the fact that he's like a computer, so he has all this data in his head that he can process and find and everything else and translate and do, you know, what have you. But he doesn't feel emotion, and like that's part of the character development over the series of this show. It's him trying to get in tune with these emotions, and how, like, that's the thing, you know, you can be perfectly kind of human in theory, but there is still something that is specifically human that can't be matched, you know, by a machine. So anyway, like, my initial feelings when I think about artificial intelligence, it really is kind of that sort of, I guess, 80s sci-fi sort of understanding of it. That whole thing of something that is like a robot, an android, something that is so close to man that is, you know, almost like not so much a threat, but something that is so similar that it is kind of like a threat, if that makes any sense. And then the whole sort of idea that our, you know, our computers really smarter than people. And then again, I think it gets into that whole sort of idea of emotions, and how that is, you know, what makes us human, what makes us so much different than machines. Even if machines are able to do that calculation in a matter of seconds, well, what about my calculation, which is taking into consideration, I don't know, like how people feel about the number of balls that are being thrown into the river at the moment. You know, it's like really kind of that sort of thing that I think about. And of course, things are much different today, because I think it's quite interesting how we are seeing the artificial intelligence that we are, like Denise was mentioning, you know, that it is part of this evolution. Only it's not exactly what it was like if you're looking at that sci-fi stuff, like I was mentioning from the 80s. You know, instead of seeing the robot in front of you that is like maybe even looking kind of like you, what we have instead are computers that, you know, we're sometimes talking to. Guys, Siri, and I don't know, that Android stuff. I think Skype has some sort of thing you can talk to now. There's, of course, that Amazon Alexa. I mean, I've seen children talking to tablets because the tablets talk. You know, this is kind of like interesting. But let's talk a little bit more about everything, because, yeah, I mean, let's see what exactly we are familiar with. What exactly are we using? Let's go with Elliot. Are you using any artificial intelligence?
You know, I've got Siri, but I don't know. But up to me, I can't use her properly, or something goes wrong. But I think she's absolutely uh, unuseful for me. I don't know because
Okay. Okay, so you have her, but you don't find her very useful. Okay.
yes, it's not convenient for me. I'm not. I don't know. Maybe I can't use her properly.
Okay. Is she in Russian or in English, or what language do you have her
Yes,
in?
no, she is in English, of course. Yes, but
Okay.
up to me, she's absolutely stupid.
Okay. All right. All right. No offense, Siri. You know, if you have feelings, which I don't know, maybe she does. You never know what they're developing. Denise, what about you? Are you using any of this artificial intelligence?
Yes, we all, I think, use some simple artificial intelligence. For example, of course, it's Google Now or Siri. Sometimes it's not works properly at all time to my mind, but I find that some simple tasks like asking for will it be rain, for example, or asking about weather, finding some actual news, or sometimes even driving smartphone, like looking on last SMS or running some apps. I have a very big number of applications on my phone, so usually to me it's simpler to ask run app I want instead of trying to find it icon anywhere. So it's in such simple use, yes. Next thing, we should remember that correction system in iPhone and Android keyboards, it uses a simple version of artificial intelligence. It analyzes frequency of word using, trying to remember some usual phrases and correct and spelling in real time when we type new text. Sometimes it's very annoying, but sometimes it really works fine.
Yeah.
Next, another very important thing, Google search for pictures. If you type anything to and trying to search and then switch in image finding mode, Google can't mark up all images manually. So Google uses a neural network to understand what is on each image and save a database for all indexed image in internet to help search throughout it. And it's one of the most probably artificial intelligence system in real use now. It's a very complicated and strong neural network, and it's very funny to study how it works, how it understands pictures and so on. It's a very big topic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point. We are using this artificial intelligence. If we're using Google with the algorithms that there are, even for searching, even you mentioned the image searches, but even if you're thinking about text searches, the algorithms are there that are pushing stuff up in one way or another, giving us what we want to see. It's there. It's absolutely there. You guys both mentioned these talking devices. I don't have any of those installed. I don't have Siri. I don't have the Google one. I don't have Alexa. And I've actually disabled all of them and even deleted them because I don't know. I was mentioning, like, that's the thing. I mean, you've got children that are talking to devices. And actually, I think my Kindle Fire did an update by itself or something. And it was still plugged into the wall. And I guess it started talking when it noticed that someone came into the room, and it was my son, who's 3. And there was some sort of computer device saying hi, we're here. And that was this device is saying hi because someone walked into the room, and they just out of instinct, my 3-year-old child is talking to a tablet, and I'm thinking, okay, this is just weird to me. I don't know why. I mean, just kind of weird. So I was like, disable. But otherwise, I'm a really kind of hands-on person, so I definitely use search functions on the internet. But I kind of, and going through, like you were mentioning, Denise, going through and talking to the weather or something like that. I'm a big typer. I love to type. I love to do it myself. It, for me, is like second nature to just, bloop, and search, and that's it. So for me, I guess those sort of functions aren't so important, but I mean, the talking ones. But the artificial intelligence itself that exists with the computers we use, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm using all of these things on a regular basis, these neural networks, these algorithms, they're all there, and how can you not use them, really, in this day and age? What about this so-called Internet of Things? I mean, did you read about this? How has it affected your life? Denise, I mean, do you feel that the Internet of Things has affected you and your family and the way that you guys live?
I think no, because Internet of Things now it's more like some concept. It's an idea if we provide internet access and some smart abilities to each thing around us, we can grab a lot of information. We can provide a better service or better functionality to this thing. But really, it does not exist such way now. So I have no one smart thing in my apartment except mobile phone and computers. So it's Also, my fitness band can provide any additional information over his basic functionality. So,
Okay.
I experiment with different concepts and platforms which can provide certain information and uses it, but it's like some spare parts which is not properly aligned together. In theory, yes. If you live in a smart home, you have different devices around you, then can collect information about all your activities. It's a good way to diagnose some possible disease or provide an advice how to be more uh, well, how to be more healthy and so on. But it's early steps.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Elia, what about you? What do you think? I mean, what do you think about this whole Internet of Things? I mean, do you think that it's something that you are going to take on? What do you think?
Okay, I will take that on when I will understand that. Because nowadays some things are difficult for me for understanding, and I don't know. I know that there are two reasons for that. The first reason that some things really a bit complicated for such user like me, and another reason that really some things are very low level of development, so they're not interesting for using nowadays. So I think yes, in future it will be much more interesting, but now not always.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand that completely. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, we're just like kind of living through that sort of thing. I mean, I don't know. Internet of Things itself is a very, like we were talking, like Denise was talking about, interesting concept. We're just trying to understand it's, being implemented. It's all kind of happening. But there are so many things that are connected to the internet that never were before. I mean, like the refrigerators or your stoves or I mean the television set, like these are things okay that maybe have been for a while now, the televisions and everything else. But that's what we see. It's that there's so many devices that we're using on a regular basis that are part of here. What kind of information about us is being gathered? I mean, of course, marketing companies, advertisers and brands themselves, they want to know what we're doing so that they can sell us more of whatever it is that they're going to sell. And there's always the also kind of threat that maybe someone is going to blackmail us or bribe us or do something else. Maybe they want to take our information to get to someone else's information. And again, when we have all of these things that are connected to the internet, that are functioning that way, how vulnerable are we really becoming? And how dependent, too, I think, are we becoming? Because I don't know. I mean, I can use a refrigerator without it being connected to the internet. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I don't know if your refrigerator personally has that function. I know my mom has a new age. I don't think it's a smart refrigerator, or maybe, I don't know what you call it, but it beeps if you don't close the door. Now, it beeps, so it's really annoying if you leave the refrigerator door open while you're, I don't know, making a sandwich or just doing something real quick. It'll beep. But if you close it and you don't close it all the way, it doesn't beep, but it's still open. So, like, you're still going to be losing the energy and destroying, the device and the food and everything else, but it doesn't beep. So, a lot of these things I'm a bit wary of. I think it's an interesting concept to have it all worked out. But then again, it's like, do we really need to have all these things? I think that's a very kind of, one of those things we should just think about it. But I mean, has the Internet of Things affected my life other than the fact that I'm always online? I mean, always online. Sometimes I forget to turn off the sound on my phone, and because of, I know people all over the world, I'll get notifications for things in the middle of the night, and it's like, why didn't I turn that thing off? In that sense, yes, it's affected my life, but I don't know. I'm trying to kind of minimize the effect, further effect of all this sort of stuff, personally. What about artificial intelligence and its ability to change humanity for the better? And what about you? What do you think? Does this artificial intelligence have the ability to change humanity for the better? Do you think that it will?
Yes, of course, because there are lots of really convenient things. Although I also have the old refrigerator, but I think it would be very nice if I would have such a refrigerator, which would send me that messages to my mobile phone, what product I have in and what product I should buy. And as far as I know, that there are such refrigerators now, for example, but I suppose that they should be rather expensive, and I suppose that sometimes they can give wrong information. But I think that in future all that things will be developed and the whole life will be maybe much more convenient. But I'm afraid that people would be a bit lazier and maybe even a bit um, not so clever. I don't know, lazy and a bit stupid. I don't know. Because I
Okay,
remember
yeah.
the movie. It was called Idiocratic, something like that.
Idiocracy. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Idiocracy.
Hmm.
And I'm afraid that there will be something like that in future.
Okay, did you see Wall-E? That robot movie, Pixar robot movie?
Me not.
No. Okay, well there's like,
I see.
you've seen this one,
I
Denise.
heard.
Okay. To
To my
yeah.
mind, about yes, artificial intelligence, more interesting idea was in film Chapter.
The what?
Because Chapter, it's yes, Chapter like dog's food. Uh, you wasn't watch this film?
Which one?
Okay. I'll type. At first, I find it how it properly written on English.
Okay. We're waiting. We're waiting. It's okay. Take your time. We're interested. It's always good to find these new films.
Oh, a little bit different. It's a good that I look how spell it properly. Uh, hmm. How can I?
What do we have here?
Can I write? Looks like I can't. I can see. Yes, my message in chat, but I.
Shappy. No, I haven't seen this movie. Okay. Dystopian science fiction action thriller. Ooh, okay. This looks good.
About Internet of Things, I remember one good, probably allegory. I don't know how to. Now, Internet of Things, it's some thing where look like computers in early ages.
Okay.
Only some big enthusiasts and rather skilled in technology people can use it, and usually it's not useful in real life. But it's very interesting.
Okay. Yeah, that is interesting.
But yes, but now computers, it's not math skills, and all people use computers or smartphones. It's very similar thing. Yeah. And I think, yes, in tens of years, all be the same with Internet of Things, or also with artificial intelligent technology in our life.
Okay. Yeah. No, definitely. It's interesting. Yeah.
And about questions. So I think it's my turn.
Yes, it is.
Uh,
So what do you think? I mean, how do you think that artificial intelligence has or will change humanity for the better?
yes.
That's the question. Yeah.
I think it's hard to predict will it change humanity to be better. But I think it will change environment and life to be more comfortable, to provide ability people be more happy probably, because it's like a questions if steam machine make humanity better. It's a very discussionable questions because we can say that our society is perfect or even is well balanced. But removing hard muscle work, most part of hard muscle work, and providing
Like manual labor, manual work.
yes,
Yeah.
such kind is the same thing with artificial intelligence. It's a way to remove most part of monotonous or dull work from people and do it by machine way. And one crazy thing, but really now the situation is different because working and inventing artificial intelligence system needs in a big amount of manual prepared data. Probably you you know anything about Yandex product Toloka. It's some kind of freelance birja, freelance portal, which provides very simple work to people, like a set attributes to pictures. What is
Oh yes, I know who you're talking about. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
it's a incredibly big amount of very monotonous works. It's very important. It's need to provide better artificial intelligence, but it also overload people by very dull work. So it's a interesting conflict now time. And very interesting questions is really in future uh, we move all monotonous work to machine. Probably some part of human work will be cheaper.
Yeah, cheaper, safer. I think that's maybe one of the things that artificial intelligence, that's what I think about. I mean, changing humanity for the better, maybe saving people's lives. I mean, if you look at what has happened.
Saving is, I'm not sure that all, because people can do mistake, but a machine can be not properly designed, but can do a mistake as human. So program can mistaken only if it was bad programmed, but it can't looks on wrong direction, or it can't do nothing because it won't do anything at that time. It's like a situation with self-driving car. Yes, it's a self-driving car can take part in some accidents, but it's a problem with some sensors or with some behavior logic. But it's not a mistake like a driver that think he have a time to stop, but really not. Or he can increase speed and arrive someplace faster, but really not. Artificial intelligence can't do such kind of mistake. So I think it's in most cases automates or artificial intelligence will be more safe for humans.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's really kind of good points that you make there, Denise. I mean, but especially with like that, yeah, that manual labor, I mean, making things easier in that sense. But then I think that like what Elliot was mentioning too, it's about his movie was Chappie. He wrote it. Did you see it? Chappie.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Elliot's typing here. So I'm saying,
Okay, I typed it, but my message was not appeared. Yes.
oh, I saw it. I don't know. I saw it. But anyway.
I type a few times, but it's not appeared in as message in my screen, and looks like it not appeared itself.
Right. But yeah, no, it's kind of anyway, strange technology. What can you do? Maybe they don't like us. I don't know. But no, like I was saying, that you mentioned that. I mean, but Elliot was mentioning how maybe it's going to make people lazy, and I don't know. I mean, that's something maybe that that can maybe really kind of change humanity for the better. Like I was talking about Wall-E, Denise, you saw that movie. You know how the people just kind of became so reliant upon all of that technology that they couldn't kind of think for themselves anymore, which is kind of a scary thing when you think about it. It really is. And I don't know, I think there is a lot of good that this artificial intelligence can potentially offer humanity. I mean, doing that sort of thing, maybe allowing us to have the free time to think more, to come up with new ideas and everything else. So I think that it's good as long as we don't become lazy. So it's great that it can take over a lot of these things, but then we still have to, think. We still have to do things for ourselves. We still have to maybe be able to use the new technology, but still be able to use our brains. And yes, our brains are going to evolve along with this technology, but it's still something that we're responsible for too, to not deteriorate and become, or like you were talking about that Idiocracy movie too, Elia. I mean, like these are these dystopian films that really we should think about. I mean, how realistic are they? Can they happen? I think in many of these circumstances, yes, they could, and we just as people need to make that balance, make sure it doesn't get to that point. But I think it's good that even we have these science fiction films where we can see that and we can really kind of look and think, hey, I don't want that, and take the steps, make sure that it doesn't happen. So bravo to the filmmakers for making us think about these sort of things. Next question. What do you think is the biggest advantage that artificial intelligence brings people? Denise, what do you think? I mean, you're talking about this, taking over manual labor. What do you think is the biggest advantage that it has?
Biggest advantage? From global viewpoint, I think the biggest advantage is some kind of next evolution step, because now we have no pressure which cause any evolution. People live in a very artificial and safe environment, comparable to a time where humanity appears. So artificial intelligence, it's possible tools and extensions to human brain to do next step in evolution, to be more smart, more adaptable, to increase speed of taking decisions, to percept more things. And it's in global viewpoint, I think it's the most important thing. But in practice, of course, there will be many small advantages, like a safe environment, a better medical diagnosis. It's more free time to spend it on some important and pleasant thing. It's numerous.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Elia, what about you? What do you think is like the biggest advantage that it has to offer, this artificial intelligence, to people?
Yes, I think that Denise mentioned a very good point, because I never thought about that artificial intelligence can improve us, make us think better, and um, I think yes, in future maybe it would stimulate us to um, to develop, to be more clever, but I'm afraid that the society maybe will divide into two parts: the people who will develop and people who will not develop at all. So, and I'm afraid that division will be crucial.
Okay, so that's like a threat you see, this divide in society. Yeah, I mean that's it's definitely a legitimate concern. I think that you hint on that. When it comes to advantages that artificial intelligence brings people, I think I agree with you in that, yeah, okay, it'll make things easier. And if you look at humanity, the history of humans, we have throughout our existence sought out things that make our lives easier. If it's inventing the wheel, or like all these things, if you look at it, we want to make our lives easier. We don't want to work hard if we don't have to manually. And I think that you see that our brains work a lot more. And this is again getting into this whole sort of science fiction thing. Look at all those aliens that are like, they're so smart that they're telepathic. There are different levels of intelligence that we are. Why? Maybe it's because they kept on using their brains. I mean, our brains are machines, aren't they? They are computers. They're able to do all of these things, and we need to train them. And for thousands of years, people were worried about finding food. Like there was an instinct that didn't really maybe allow that sort of intellectual processing to take place. Now we live in a time where it does. So I think if anything, giving those resources too, it's great. But then again, what it brings back to what Elia said about how, yeah, but there's a divide. The people that are able to use this and the people that are maybe just going to be button pushers. I don't know if you guys remember the Jetsons cartoon series, back in the 60s, 70s. And you have that family in the future. And basically the guy's job is just to push a button. So people exist, machines exist, they do everything, but what are people there for anymore? So again, there are going to be the bosses, but they're also going to be the button pushers. And how do we all fit into that equation? What kind of justice is that all doing? Anyway, Denise, did you mention threats? Any specific threats that you see from artificial intelligence?
To my mind, it's I split traits to two scenarios. Not realistic for me, and realistic. Not realistic is some kind of xenophobia, because most people perceive artificial intelligence as some kind of aliens or some kind of golems or something like this. But really, artificial intelligence is a result of our creativity, of our engineering skills. It's it's a real part of our culture, of our technology. But in about real traits, it's is our society can change as fast as technology. Appearance of artificial intelligence can start changing our reality, and will change economy, will change industry more. Change will be very big, and for big part of people, it will be very hard to adopt for these changes. No, it's like when McDonald's start experiment with fully automated kitchen and fully automated services in America. the most problem was not to prepare technology and not to organize all this process in a better way. Problem was that McDonald's also play a big social role to provide a job for some kind of peoples or for people in some life situations. And rejecting such abilities to get a job is a not so good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And questions if our society find a way to provide better abilities to all people, to like good, I can't remember, okay, like a good social guarantee or something like this. And also another side, most of people should to have a job to continue to get a food, to get a house, but how these people would feel themselves, and what these people start to do if it will be no necessity to have a job. We don't know.
Yeah, jobs. That is a big thing. That is a very big thing. I mean, if you look, for example, factories, think about all the jobs where people used to work in factories in many different countries in the world. That was, basically a job that didn't require higher education or maybe even, a finished sort of high school education either. And you had people that were working in these factories. Now, what happened? Those factories were, computer technology was brought in there, and a lot of those jobs just went away. They were replaced by computers, replaced by machines. And where are these people now? Denise, you mentioned McDonald's and, that sort of work. Well, a lot of them are in those sort of positions now, maybe working in some other sphere that is taken over that sort of, I don't want to say untrained worker, because there's training involved in any job, of course, but maybe lower skilled workers, if that makes any sense. And again, the more that the computers come, the more the artificial intelligence is being applied, more of these jobs are going away. Where are these people going to get their jobs? That's a very, very good point to make. But, I'm sure that we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, really. What about, okay, if you read this article about Stephen Hawking, do you agree with him when he said that artificial intelligence will destroy humanity? You should go, you need to leave the planet. Denise, what do you think? Do you agree with him? Is it going to destroy humanity?
I disagree, because artificial intelligence is a part of humanity. It's not in some aliens which flew to Earth from another planet or another galaxy. It's a result of our brain, of our skills, of our culture, of course. So we can do artificial intelligence which will not be very close to our brains, to our mind. It's a simple result of our work, of our minds, of our culture. So it's some kind of industrial revolution. As a result of industrial revolution, we lost of big amount of different handwork traditions. But is it destroy our culture? No. Book printing, decrease necessity in handwriting book. But is book printing kill book itself as a part of our culture? No.
Reading books.
It's not reading books. It's more about writing books.
Writing books.
When all books can be copied only by handwriting, idea was that all books, every book has its own soul. As a result of long and rather hard working of who copied this book by hand. most of handwritten copies have some editions, some copier marks or something like this. So it was a really partially new book, but appearing capability to create a many copy of each book by simple way is book printing.
Okay, printing press. Yes, printing
Yes,
press.
printing
Of
press.
course. Yeah,
Yes.
that did. It did change things. But then also, I mean, keeping on that, Denise, you know, the written language did too. I mean, think about the old bards and the people when there was the oral tradition, when stories were told by mouth. You know, again, that's maybe a tradition that we've lost. I mean, imagine someone telling a 500-page book by memory, you know, and yet that's the sort of thing that, according to history, used to happen. So again, I mean, we've changed, we've evolved, things have changed. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. It's a lot of interesting sort of things in that respect. Elia, what about you? What do you think? Do you agree with Stephen Hawking in this sense?
Mm, I don't know. I'm not sure, but of course it will change. But yes, Denise mentioned, and I quite agree that it is not artificial intelligence. It's our society, our culture, and really, um, if something will kill the society, the culture, and it doesn't matter what will be it, artificial intelligence or something else, we created it ourselves. So it is not something strange. It is uh, our product of our minds. So anyway, if it would happen, it means that we will do it ourselves, not someone. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
No, I mean, it's yeah, no, I mean, those are things
Because
to think about. Yeah, I mean, I
I
understand what
can't
you mean. Yeah.
explain it properly in English, but I think that mm, Denise said it really very true, real things that product of our minds anyway, whether they are robots or computers or some programs, anyway, they are only our products.
True, true, true. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of, to tell you the truth, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be the wild one out here. I'm gonna say yes. I agree with Stephen Hawking. Yes, humanity is gonna be destroyed by all this artificial intelligence. But then define destroyed. I mean, and how many times has humanity, as it has been destroyed? And I mean, I think that's the thing. You know, are we going to call it destroyed? Are we going to call it evolve? Are we going to call it change? There are lots of different ways to think about that. And if you look at political sort of views, there are a lot of different ways to look at that too. So I think that yes, things are going to change. And they're going to change in a way that, yeah, there's no way to go back. But if you look at human history, that's what it's all been about. If, like you're talking about the printing press, Denise, and I mentioned the old bards, you know, and now we're talking about computers, and there are all these different things that have changed throughout the years, and we're still here, right? We're still here, and we're definitely not living like we did 2,000 years ago. So we just have to go with it. Like, really. Um, you there, Denise?
Sorry?
Okay, sorry, you just kind of came in there. All right. Next question. How do you feel about talking with computer devices? Edit. I mean, you already mentioned Siri. You don't find it used, but do you think it's an interesting tool? Do you think it's funny? I mean, what are your sort of opinions on it?
No, I don't know. Maybe I can't use her properly because for me it would be very convenient to talk and to hear her answers, good answers. But instead of answering she just displayed me something in monitor of my telephone, and so that is not convenient for me because I'm, for example, I'm driving a car and I haven't got possibility to look uh, to that sites or things she had found for me. So, but she can't answer me. I don't know. Maybe I do something wrong. So nowadays it's not convenient for me, but it would be good if she can talk. And maybe sometimes in some future, for example, you feel you've got some problem or things like that, and you have someone to talk to, and it doesn't mean important who. If Siri would be cleverer, it would be nice, I think.
True. True. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting sort of point to make there. I don't know, Ellie. I'm with you. I really don't understand the way it works. But Denise, you do talk to it. So, I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like it's a practical tool? What are your feelings on it?
I feel it as the usual thing. What people feel when talking with dogs or with cats. We have many different examples where people talk with anybody, but not to wait the same reaction as from another human. So there's some additional way to get information or to ask about some actions or some other simple things. So it's simple communication. Yes, of course. Now, no Google Now, no Siri, no Alexa can talk as a human in common case. But probably, in last Google demonstration of technology, they demonstrate how a user can ask Google Now to book a table in restaurant, and if a restaurant have no ability to book by site or in some booking system, Google Now can call a phone and trying to book by imitation a human call. And this this demonstration was much discussed in last month, and this is other steps to provide big skills for such systems. And to my mind, it's very useful. If there is no a simple way for me doing what I want, I apologize to any tools or ways to simplify my life. And also, I think we all meet with some automatic information system from banks or from some social departments.
Yeah, I mean that's true. There is so much
and
of it.
Sometimes it's a very it's a simple records, but it's would be very useful if such system also provide simple abilities to ask questions sometimes. Because if bank call to me to notify me doing something and provide not efficient information, what's problem and what happened, and then I should take time to call the bank to wait few minutes, or even it was at night or in foreign country. So I apologize for sorry, I not another word. I would like to such abilities appear to communicate, mention in people.
Yes, I agree with you completely, Denise, completely. I don't know. Like I mentioned before, I don't use any of these mobile device talking things. But yeah, I mean, calling in. when you call in. How is it in Russia? I mean, is it really that common to get these automated services these days? Is it like, because I mean, for example,
yes.
well, I mean, for example, in the US, when you call bank or your credit card or some sort of customer support line or something like that, you're getting these automated services where it's like press 1 for this and then this and this and this. Yeah.
Voice menu.
Yeah, those sort of things.
Also, the same as a голосовое menu on Russian.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of that now?
Yes, and it was a good when there was a separate phone, but to using voice number menu in a mobile phone, you should take phone out of ears, activating DL pad sometimes, then pressing button, then listen for next instruction, then repeat it again and again.
Yes, yes. This is, I mean, it's so, I mean, I don't know. It drives me crazy. I never get it. I say something and they don't understand. And then whoever's sitting next to me looks at me like I'm crazy because I'm getting angry at my phone, you know, not even at a person. I'm just getting angry at the phone itself. Like, I'm yelling at representative. And like, what are you talking about? I just want to talk to a person. But yeah, that's the sort of thing that I guess it's the reality. It is. It's the modern world. It's the way that things are. And you guys, this has been a very interesting conversation, I think. And Denise, you've got a lot of interesting points to make, and Elia, you too. I mean, I think it's just it's something that we're all living through. You know, we're all experiencing this. We're all part of this evolution that's going on, this artificial intelligence, how it's coming into our lives and what have you. So it'll be interesting to see what continues to come to be in our lifetime and what chance, I mean, what option do we really have but to live with it and experience it. Okay, guys, so what do you think about next time? Do you have any ideas for topics for discussion? Think.
Today I have no ideas.
Okay. It's still going to be May. Next week.
Next week, yes, there will be the one before the last day of May.
Right.
30th of May.
30th of May, right?
30th of May, yes.
All right. So any ideas for a topic for this
I
30th?
Don't know, yeah, maybe you have an idea.
I'm trying to think. We've talked about so many interesting things, haven't we? From like time management and artificial intelligence. And we already talked about football. I don't know. What else is going on? What else is going on in the world? Is there anything interesting, you guys? Because I'm trying to think. There was the royal wedding, but that's really not something to talk about. Like, I don't know. What else has been going on?
We haven't talked about house animals and children.
My goodness. Oh my God. Pets and children together in one. My goodness. Like, I just, oh my gosh. That's clearly two independent topics and best not to mix. Although in some spheres you could. I don't know. Pets? Maybe. What do you think about that? Actually, you know, maybe we just take pets because this is kind of a thing. But I don't know. What do you think about discussing pets and how people treating their pets? I know that, for example, in Moscow, there are lots of cafes and things like that where you can go with your dog, which is kind of strange. And that's something that, you know, you're seeing in a lot more places. It's become kind of the rule. You can basically take your dog anywhere in America these days if you've got a piece of paper saying it's a therapy animal. I don't know. What do you think about that, about the growing role of pets in people's lives?
Okay. Good topic.
Okay, yeah, I think it's interesting. Whether you have a pet or not, I mean, it's kind of like obvious if you've seen someone, you know, walk down the street carrying their dog instead of walking the dog, which happens. I'm sure you've seen this, right, guys? Have you? Is it just me?
Yes.
Okay. There was even a social campaign in Russia a few years back. It was something like, it was a beautiful girl and it said like, have children, not pets, or something like that. I don't know if you guys remember that. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about that. I think it's an interesting topic. I think it is. I think we'll have fun with this one. So next week, same time, same place. Well, different link to the same place, but you know, Google Hangouts. There we go. And we'll talk about pets. But in any case, it was really interesting to discuss the artificial intelligence with you today, both of you, Denise and Elia. And I'm going to wish you a great rest of the evening and rest of the week and weekend, and see you on Wednesday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Bye.
all. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.